Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to do right angle weave, single bead right angle weave. Okay, so right angle weave is a very thread hungry stitch. It's a very tactile stitch too, and sometimes it's a little bit complicated. So to start with, you need 4 beads. Every stitch is a 4 bead unit. Leave yourself a long tail so you've got something to hold on to. Pick up your 4 beads, and normally, even with seed beads, I go back through all 4 again. And I'm going to do it with this, because they're big holes, they're big beads. I'm going to go back through all of them again. And that brings it into its natural shape. Back through the first one again, and that gives you your full circuit. But I need to be coming out of the bead opposite where I started. So I'm going to go back through the next 2 as well. For the first row of right angle weave, people get this one quite easily. It's a 4 bead unit. You're going to share this last bead with your next unit. So for the second unit, you pick up 3 beads. Go back through the bead from the previous unit from the opposite side to where your thread was emerging, and then you need to travel through to the opposite bead from where you started that stitch. So just to recap, you went through all 4 of the first unit, your thread was coming out of the bottom, you pick up 3 and you go back in to the same bead you started from the opposite direction, and then you travel until you're ready to pick up more beads. So the next unit, again, pick up 3 beads, go through the bead that you started from, pull that round, and then you need to be coming out of the bead at the end. So you're travelling across. So each stitch, in effect, is going round a corner. If you think of this as a square, every time you go through a bead, it's a right angle, hence the name of the stitch. When you want to do your second row, you need to be coming out of one of the horizontal beads. So here I would weave all the way around to come back out through that one at the top. And this is where life gets complicated. Some people have difficulty getting the concept of this, because with small beads it's sometimes a little difficult to see where you are. So for the second row, I'm going to use a different colour so that it's easy for you to see which was the base row and which is the second row. Terminology wise, quite often you'll hear people use north, south, east, west, or they'll use floor, walls and ceiling, or like me, quite often top, bottom and sides. All these different terminologies are used for this stitch. So for the second row, for the first unit of the second row, you're going to pick up 3 beads because you've already got your bead from the base row in place. So you go back through the bead you started from, and then you need to follow through all 3 of these before you can move on. So I'm going to pick it up because they're a bit difficult to handle on the mat. So you go through each one. Each time your needle is turning the corner. So you get to this position where you can move on. You've already got a bead in place from your previous row, so you need to use that one. So now if you look, you have 2 beads of your next unit already in place. So now you've got to turn a corner, there's no bead there, so you know you've got to pick them up. So you pick up your 2 beads, you go back to the bead you started from, and you've got your second unit. But you can't pick up any more beads because all these beads are still in place, so you need to thread through until you come to a point where there are no beads to thread through, and then you know that you're in a position to pick up more. So at this point, there are no beads on this side, and if I turn the corner, there's no bead to go through here either, so I have to pick them up. So it's 2 beads on, and this is where people get very confused. because you have to go back to the bead you started from, but that only gives you 3 beads, so you need to use the one from the base. So you're kind of going forward and then coming backwards. So you go beyond the bead this time to come back to the one you started from. So, like so. And then you're ready to start your next row if you go through there. It's very wise as well to count your rows as you go. So make sure if you had 3 beads at the bottom, you've got 3 beads at the top. It's very easy when you're using tiny beads to miss one. So have a count. If you're a beginner, use big beads to start with so that you can see where you're going. So that's how to do right angle weave. It's a beautiful tactile stitch, as I said before, and here we have a few examples. This is how it looks when you've done a few rows. And this is, just look at the drape on that. I love this, it's like a little comfort blanket. So that's a piece done in, they're supposed to be size 11 beads, but I think they're slightly bigger. These are definitely size 11 beads. And then this one is one I've just recently finished, which is all done with little rondelle crystals, so it's very sparkling. And then I'd like to show you how to read a charted pattern. This is one of the Beadworkers Guild bookmarks, and I've enlarged it quite a lot, so it's a bit fuzzy, but it's easier for you to see. So when you're doing right angle weave, remember every row is a 4 bead unit. So all of that is 1 row. So when you want to read the next row, you leave this bead in place. Where's my pointy stick? You leave this bead visible and you move it up by 3 so that you again have a 4 bead unit as your reading for your row. So if you're starting from here, you'll pick up 3 beads and you'll connect to this one, work your way around. You pass through the one on your previous row. Your next pickup would be 2 orange ones and back round like so. And then your next pickup would be 2 yellow and into the yellow and so on. If you find it easier to actually use a pencil and draw out which ones you've already done, then by all means do that. You can always photocopy a pattern again. Okay, so that's how to do right angle weave. It's not the easiest of stitches, but it is well worth the effort of learning. There are lots of other videos in the series, so please check those out as well, and I'll see you next time.